Welcome, James.
Hello, Nelson. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
So far, so good. Thank you. Just enjoying the nice rainy Wednesday up here in New York.
Oh, so that's where you're based out of. Over here, we finally got sun in here in California, and
Yes.
we're not on fire. So
I'm glad to hear that. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. That's always a good thing.
Set our standards a little low on that one. Maybe we're not on fire today. Please. Yeah, we'll get started in a few minutes as people are coming in.
Sounds perfect. Excellent. I hope it's just do us so far. So.
Yeah. Like, I gotta have my guests.
Thank you again for hosting the call last night. That was actually great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So while I have you, did you have a chance to introduce yourself?
I did not. We were sort of cut off by the fact that Jacob was in a rush.
Yeah. Thursday, I'll make sure that everyone who hasn't introduced themselves gets to know each other in there.
Oh, all good. No worries. No worries.
I know now he's
like yourself, another computer nerd here myself too. So.
Thank you. See that, Bo? Got a couple other nerds in the group.
Absolutely.
What? Oh yeah, I saw his comments last night. I pay attention to things that I
am. Awesome.
I'm always sitting behind a computer. So we have a couple other people. I have to make sure my guests are coming.
Or not.
They confirmed, right, Bo?
Yeah, they confirmed. They sent like a excited email. Lindsay sent them a Google Calendar invite. So
yeah, saw that too. All
right. Well, James, how did you like night one? What are your thoughts?
Eager and intrigued is probably the two thoughts that come to mind. Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing what comes down the pipe next, and the craziness that happens ensues.
What's your background?
My background is IT was what I went to school for, but it has ranged into everything from media services related, being the former production manager for a audiovisual production company and media services director. And also now working for what they call a family office, a wealth management firm for a family. And that's where I work back in the IT department, but it has ranged in every other aspect that the family has their hands on. So basically helping.
So you enjoyed David and Austin on Monday's Party Chatter.
I'm familiar with a little bit what they were discussing. Yes.
That was a good call. That was a lot of fun. That actually was a really good time. There's your guest, Nelson.
Hey, Bo, I am trying to go live on Facebook, and it is saying that I do not have permission to go live.
That's not me.
Okay, that's not me.
I don't know any of it, so
I don't know.
Well, you did it on Friday, right?
Yeah.
When you hosted.
Yeah.
So why is it not doing it this time?
Facebook.
Yeah, it's streaming to my personal Facebook, but I don't think I have access to the investor party.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, that will likely be an admin thing on the Facebook account, depending on whoever has given you rights or not, I would imagine.
Yeah.
What if you I wonder if you could go to like the investor party page or Jacob's page and host a watch party.
I'm just gonna record it. I'll just wait till Steph shows up. Anyway,
yeah,
let's go and get the party started. And people aren't always speculating. Hi, you guys. Hi, Keston. Hi, Daz.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Welcome.
Good. How are you?
Glad to talk to you. So welcome to Party Chatter. So I'm going to be taking the lead during the call over the next hour. You will see people come in and out. Typically, we are also streaming this on Facebook, but when Steph shows up, she'll be able to help with that. And when Jacob shows up, Jacob right now is actually in Atlanta. You guys are in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And Bo, you're in Atlanta, right? Yeah, he's in Atlanta. I think we'll touch down yesterday. So we have a bunch of investors in your area. I'm gonna go ahead and admit people. But I'm super
Is my
excited.
thing messing up?
Yeah, yours is. So we have a lot of people over
Okay.
in your area. The Investor Party community, how much do you guys know about us? Actually, now that I think about it.
Well, I kind of jump in and out of some of the recordings, some of the lives. I was Leanne. She kind of put me on to some of the things that you guys do, and so especially when it was just forming,
Yeah.
and it was kind of in the start of a lot of different things. So it was like, Leanne, I can't join another class right now. This seems great, but so yeah, I knew when it was starting up, and I did jump on a few of the calls, but never officially joined it.
Yeah, well, you're part of the family now, so here you
Good.
go. You guys are not going anywhere. So what we do in Party Chatter, we obviously invite as many people as we can. Our community now is about 120, 125 people. They come in and out, and in the community, they also check out the YouTube video, so they get to replay this interview time and again, and utilize your resources, your advice, your wisdom. Oh, and speaking of Leanne, she's on board. And we're constantly growing. We're constantly adding new members. So the more information that we have, the larger the network that we have. It's always a great opportunity, especially for investors and always looking for people to partner with. We're always looking to learn. So I'm super excited to have you here because so many people are going to be watching this. They may not be here right now, but they want to get your advice and your wisdom and how you made it. So let me do a quick introduction to the rest of the group and to anyone in Investor Party who is late watching this at a later time. Jas and Keston, you and I met in High Performance, and we actually had Ava as our guest last Friday. And the more that we've gotten to know each other, the more that I realized that you guys were also real estate investors, and you started in a similar path as the rest of us. It just ended up being, a small business, and then one lead after another and after another. And I think during High Performance, at 1 week, you had 3 contracts all at the same time. And then it didn't seem like a big deal to you guys. We're like, damn, we're trying to get one. Like, how did you do that? And then in the middle of High Performance, we were also sharing things about balancing life and family and a family business, how to overcome that. So the reason why I wanted to bring you guys on board, if you can basically advise us on all of that. How did you do it? Where did you come from? How do you balance life and family business? So take it over.
You want to start with?
Oh gosh, what should we start with? I mean, I can at least give a little background on how we ended up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we started with, I would say, I'm gonna say my husband called me during Christmas and said, babe, they have this course I want to take. And I read through the line and said, well, do you want me to take it with you? And he was like, well, that would be nice. So we did a 3-day elite course. And what we learned in those 3 days was enough. At least, I think Kes was already really motivated to do it. I think he has more of that entrepreneurial spirit than I in that respect. But after doing the 3-day course, I was like, we could totally do this. But at the same time, my mom had just got diagnosed with leukemia. So I was going back and forth from New York every 2 weeks to be her caretaker. So that's really how we ended up in Georgia. Long story short is my mom has leukemia. It's a roller coaster of a ride. And we thought that it's the best place for us to be right now. We felt led to come. Even though we have great support, our families have been super supportive, and I have help because it's a lot. It's being a caretaker is a lot for leukemia, because I was a caretaker when she had breast cancer, and it was a very different journey. Mm-hmm. So that's really what made us come to Georgia. We originally were only going to come for 3 months, then it turned into 6 months, then it turned into a year. So we have no idea how long we're going to be here. We debated between Atlanta and New Orleans because I grew up in New Orleans and Kes loves New Orleans. I took him there and he fell in love with it because it reminded him so much of Trinidad. And so we were like, do we want to do New Orleans or Atlanta, basically? Because we both love the areas and we also know people there. So
Mhm.
I know both areas. So I know New Orleans very well and Georgia pretty decently. Well, let's just say like Atlanta and like the cities or towns that circle it. So that's really kind of how we got to Atlanta. How our business has been going, I'll let you take that lead and explain kind of how that works and came together and everything.
Well, the business part of it, like she said, we started. I went to the seminar. I went to like that one night thing where you get pulled in, and then you are asked to do a 3-day full seminar. And I was like, man, this just kind of makes sense. It's kind of putting all the things that I've always thought about in a sentence or whatever, and made that call, and she was willing to come. So I'm like, perfect. Well, let's do it. And since that, we've been a part of Elite in New York when we lived in New York. We and just been learning a lot of the classes, joining online for whatever seminars they've had or whatever. Just really been super engrossed in it. I got to meet a couple of you guys. That's when I met a couple of you guys, and then I joined. I started a mastermind. I said, you know what? Yeah, it still exists, but it's dead. If that
Yes.
it's on rest, and I ultimately started the mastermind more so for a selfish reason. That reason was to like, I wanted to be around people to be motivated. I wanted to network. I wanted to try to do, get more resources in. And so I didn't want to wait for it to come to me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in. I think I probably started it from going in like Bigger Pockets, Rookie, or one of those forums, and was like, hey, I'm creating a mastermind, blah, blah, blah. Got a few people in. Then I met Leanne in like a Elite thing, and I'm like, hey guys, I have a mastermind just in case anybody want to join, Then what's his name? Marlon was a part of it. Marlon invited Steph. Steph came in, and at that point in time, it started to frizzle out where people, they just weren't as motivated, and the elite people kind of stayed more than the Bigger Pockets. Oh, I just want to invest.
Yeah.
And I want to buy my first rental house type of thing, And so with that, someone invited this, like a person who they seen on the forums of Bigger Pockets. That day, she was invited. That day of the mastermind, it was just her and I, and we talked kind of similar to, like, I believe when Steph joined, it was just Steph and I. Like, people just started to frizzle out. They just weren't joining anymore. And, but then this person, we just kind of really clicked. I'm like, she was like, hey, if you want, I can help you in your business or whatever. And I was like, babe, I really think this could work, like, let's build a team. And so long story short, we ended up building a team with that person, and as well as my cousin. And that was all in alignment with moving to Georgia. And we've been here since July, so 3-4 months now. And we've since then we've closed, or is closing, 10 wholesale deals.
And how did you do that? What's your formula?
And it's I don't know where to give credit to at this point. Like, I'm just such a conglomerate of different things. Where yeah, I have no idea where to just give one person credit. You know, I'm a part of a few different groups, Burbank with Monica, and they, high performance. I feel like that really helped me. You know, like there's just so many things, you know, and clarity. I feel like that clarity class was it for me. That's really made so many things happen, you know, and with everything else that we were doing with setting time blocking, and like it's just really hard to say, oh, I just did this, you know.
I do have a thought.
Tell me. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say, you know, even in, I'll be honest, I was opposed to group teams. I was just like, well, just me and you, because the minute you start bringing partners in, then their voice has an equal say, and we're still trying to figure out how we want to run the business. So initially, I was very like anti. I don't want to bring anybody in. Like they can be our employees, but I don't want to like coworkers. I think it's different like when you have something already established and you're bringing people in, because you kind of have like your foundation, but we hadn't really quite established. So nonetheless, brought them in. I was reluctant. We had our little, what do you call? I mean, I think with any relationship, you have your differences that you work through. But I would say even when you have a group of people, there's still always like somebody that's like the quietly appointed leader who, like, although we're all partners, there's someone kind of leading the flock, so to speak. And I would definitely say it's Kes. He has more of that type of drive. And so I would say he listens to a million podcasts. He's part of a lot of groups. He's always watching YouTube, this, Britt Daniels, oh gosh, Pace Moore, be like all these guys. And so Kes was like, we need a system. We need a system. And a lot of the people on the team, minus me, know basketball. I know a little bit about basketball. And so we basically, I guess we'd have to say Pip taught us about like systems. He kept saying you have to have a system. That's the word, right? And so we came up with a system. So everybody has a different role that they kind of play, so to speak, or that they're responsible for. And so it's kind of like a factory. Like we have somebody who pretty much does calling people. And when we get to a certain lead that seems warm, we'll pass it along and Kes knows about it. And then the other person on the team then goes and analyzes the deal, see what the comps are for. And then they come back, give that number to Kes. Kes closes the deal with the person, say, hey, we'd like to make an offer on the property. Once we get a confirmed, yes, I'll do that, then they send it to me. And I'm responsible for the contracts, working with the closing attorneys, posting it on our website. Now we all, for the most part, kind of share in the responsibility, like posting it on Facebook, but I'll do like the Craigslist posting. And that's kind of like the system that we have that just keeps on churning. And I do remember Kes saying like, we could totally do this by ourselves, but we might not be able to do quite as many deals as fast. So that was also, I'm just gonna be transparent, also part of my hesitation, like I don't wanna split the money 4 ways. I'm just being very honest, you know, especially like on wholesale deals versus it just coming to one house. But I would say in the 3 months that we've been doing it, because it's working so efficiently, I feel like it's kind of opened my mind as well from being teams to, okay, I could see how this is working because we're able to move things very fast. And while some people's position right now might have a little bit more, because let's say, for instance, me, I don't just get to send it to the closing attorney. There's a little follow-up that I have to do. I need to keep in contact with the sellers and the buyers and keep track of, are we within the 30 days of the contract? And so while they say like wholesaling is a one-person job, I do find that because we all have different roles, it's allowed us to produce faster, but also with Kes always challenging too, because we'd be like, oh, I feel like we're not doing enough. And that's when we were like at 3, and we're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He definitely, I would say, helps push and challenge, but everybody has their different roles. And I would say I'm more of the quiet one. I'm talking right now, but I would say I'm the more quiet one in the group. I kind of let them go, but I would say that's kind of been what's working for us, is having, because at one point we were all, well, and let me take myself out of it, but everybody was trying to do the same thing. Everybody was trying to call, everybody's trying to text, everybody, you know, and it was becoming wearing yourself thin versus like coming up with a system of like, how are you going to pass it? How are you going to work the system so it works more efficiently? And that's kind of
the analogy was we were all holding the ball, the basketball. You know, if we were to think of basketball, we all held the ball, all four of us, and we all kind of put it in the ring, you know, and that was okay for the first deal, maybe the second deal, because, you know, some people we're all at different stages in our real estate learning. And so once we became okay with that process, then it was like, okay, we got to pass the ball. So one person could stay in one corner, pass the ball to the other person, pass the ball to the other person, and the other person dunks it. And so that's kind of how we've been able to make it work with just different positions. A book that I think really transformed my mind in how this all works, and clearly you could see what I'm talking about, is Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel really helped me in terms of understanding the role of a visionary, understanding the role of an integrator, and things like that. And Jas is clearly the integrator. Once I kind of come to the table, and they shut me down a lot. And I used to get so frustrated before understanding this is normal for a visionary, because we come with all types of wild ideas, like, oh, today we should do this, and tomorrow we should do this, and this other day we should do this. And it's like, dude, we don't have money to do that. Like, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, but we should do this, you know, and so every single day I have like another idea, another thing that, you know, I believe we could implement. And so the team balances out really well. It helps me kind of keep in.
So I had a couple questions. So it is your narrative is especially true for many of us because we come from that mindset of being self-employed. We're working for ourselves, and there is a learning curve in order to start delegating things out and trusting other people, even our own spouses, that, you know, it is a team effort. Though theoretically we know efficiency-wise and productivity-wise we really should go in that direction. It just ends up hard to let go of sorts. Now, a question for you, now that you found these business partners, how did you guys decide how to capitalize on each other's strengths and skills? You mentioned that everyone was holding the ball. At what point and what was the trigger when you started seeing, okay, you're better at this skill set, so I will do this skill set, and we're going to be better collectively? When was that, and how did you figure it out?
So the funny thing is...
Can I say one word?
Go ahead.
Trial and error. But go ahead.
The funny thing for me, I knew from the first date that I was going to marry her and she would be my integrator. I have words for it now, but she was just so great with processes and things like that. I always had these huge dreams, and at that point in time, I was doing products on Amazon. I was selling on Amazon, and I just knew like my product, like the box, it sucked. Like but it was selling, and I didn't care. She was a graphic designer, so it was like, hey, she came and she made the box pretty. Like the box, it was amazing afterwards. You should see a difference. And so I knew that the things that I didn't care about or I didn't have the time to spend on, she would totally be like, oh no, let's fix this, you know? And that's why, you know, you give her a house, she makes it a home type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so with her, that was that. And so I knew that she would be that in this business too. And so when I met, well, my cousin, I know that he used to work in restaurants. And so he was a people person. And so I knew off the top that he deals with people. It's just a matter of teaching him how to, and COVID happened, right? So at this point he was unemployed. And so I knew that he was in the business of talking to people. What do you do in real estate? Talk to people. All you got to do is train him up and have him know the right things to say. And it would be natural for him because all he did for way more hours a day was talk to people in a restaurant. He was the manager. So and so this person that joined, she was a math teacher. And so it's like, clearly you're going to analyze deals. And so in my head, I'm like, this could totally work. I have this person here, and I'm kind of all rounded. Like I kind of could do everything, but not great at every one thing. So it's just like, but I come with ideas. I come with ideas. I could talk to people too. And I used to work at Apple. Apple drills you in how to relate and speak to people. And so like, I was just pulling from all these skills that, have been embedded, and I kind of seen the bigger picture with pulling the people in. And so while my wife might think it's trial and error, was it trial and error in terms of personalities blending? That was tough. That was very tough. We've had some, man, we might have to let this person go moments. We've had a lot of really tough conversations and stuff with the team. Mm-hmm. But just like a relationship, you don't really start loving the person until you go through something and you realize like, this person is there for me or whatever, and mm-hmm. And that's what we went through. And now I think we gel really well, I think, who knows? We're definitely still gelling because we're still 4 months new, but for the most part, I think we worked out some major kinks.
Now, your professional backgrounds, it's not in real estate. So how did your professional backgrounds translate here? Because we have people in our team who also work in the arts and who also sit behind computers. I'm one of them. So explain your background and what was it about real estate that suddenly now it's a family business?
So my professional background was, I was a cybersecurity analyst. And so I was very analytical. I assessed data all day, every day. We would see trends and theories, and we try to prevent people from hacking and coming in. And so, just being able to look at something from a very high view and predict, or try to predict as much as possible to prevent somebody from breaking in, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so how that translates is that, man, like we do a lot of data analysis, in being able to see where investors are investing, and Monica, she taught us the exercise of going on ListSource to be able to see where people are investing. And so then going on PropStream and looking up like all these, like it's a bunch of data stuff that we do. And I still do that here. And, like dealing with Excel sheets and all that, like you should see one of my Excel sheets from like on Sunday. It's like 50 columns wide and like thousands down, and I'm so used to it now because that's like I had to present a lot of data to my CIO and things like that, and so I've been dealing with a lot of data. Like that was the nature of my business, because I had to present it in a form that high level people could understand without going through every single column. And so for me, and well, like I said, I used to work for Apple. I worked at the Genius Bar I used to teach. Face, what was that thing called? Final Cut. I used to teach Final Cut and like different things. She's much better at Final Cut than me. But I used to teach, and so they taught me how to teach, how to kind of, when I got moved to the Genius Bar temporarily, I had to learn how to deal with opposition. Mm-hmm. And so what do we deal with? Sellers. You hear sellers and their problems. And so I had to learn how to listen and to really decipher what people are saying without saying it. I had to learn to be sympathetic, because somebody's coming to the Genius Bar because they're upset. Something doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And so, when I moved to the law firm, I was at the help desk for some time. So it was a lot of people. I dealt with people for quite some time before I moved into being a security analyst. And so it's a conglomerate of things in my profession that kind of helped with what we're doing now.
It all came full circle.
Yeah. I would say to take it from a different perspective as well, what led us to real estate was we wanted to be able to, one, not be able to work for other people and create our own schedules. And also it was more so for like legacy reasons of, one, we wanted to be able to work wherever we wanted to, travel whenever we want. So basically create our own schedule, our own life, and be able to have, can't think of the technical term, what they say, where you're not
Freedom.
working, but the money is
Passive
income. Thank you. So the great part. So I think that was one of the driving forces. I remember Kes asked me, well, what other things can we do to do that? What other businesses can you have for yourself where you can make passive income? And so I think that was like the driving force. Why real estate? And then there just was so many different opportunities. And I know for me, motivating factor, I want to do, well, at least I say I do, interior design. So I say I want to flip at least one house, because sometimes you never know if you like something until you try it, and you might find out that you love it. And so for me, I say I want to do at least one, because I'm really into the design element of it. And so that really interested me, the possibilities, because like I'm an HGTV junkie since like that was a motivating factor. But also this was, I want to say last year, one of my college friends came to visit me, and we were talking about children, and she was saying how fortunate she was that the job that she had, she was a dance teacher in a school, but her classes get out at like 11 or 12. So 2 o'clock, when her children were done from school, she didn't have to stress out about after school care and finding, you know, that kind of thing, which a lot of parents struggle with. And so that kind of was inspirational to me, of not like going to be a school teacher in that respect, but just having the freedom to create your own schedule where you're not stressing out about childcare, or can you afford to put them in this place, or you know, like just those type of things, thinking about it from a bigger, like more long-term perspective. And real estate could afford us that opportunity where we could create our own schedule. So I would say that ultimately was the leading factor, that and legacy, being able to pass things on to our children, our grandchildren, our children's children, you know, like down the line, and being able to teach them how to create wealth in a different way.
Now, many of us have came from and have similar mindsets. We look for that financial freedom also, and many of us went through the elite programs. And I think it's kind of safe to assume that many of the people who are going to be viewing this are also at the very beginning of their investment career also. And oftentimes that mindset can get really overwhelming. Where to begin? Which asset class? How do I get my system started? And so we're all kind of relying on each other just for some type of clarity. Can you walk us through the beginning, when you first finished the courses? Where did you start?
Well, can I say something really quickly? I would say technically we didn't finish because COVID happened. Just being honest, there's still classes that
honesty.
So, lease options.
Took lease options, creative financing,
and then the foundation class.
Yeah.
Because what we really wanted to do, we were interested in similar things. Social housing was one that we were really interested in doing. But I would say that I think it was in foundations class, maybe, that the teacher momentum, yeah. He was saying that you shouldn't necessarily pick one. He said you should be open to all and see which comes to you, so to speak, because we were gung-ho on Kes really likes lease options. I'm not the biggest fan of lease options, but it was like, okay, let's do it. You know, we could do this and then try something else after a while. And so we were really doing lease options. Even when we put the team together, we're doing lease options. And then somehow we're doing wholesaling and have not done lease option at all.
let me be 100% honest.
Yes.
I hated wholesaling. I was like, I am not wholesaling. I don't want to do it. I don't understand. Like, I did not want to do wholesaling at all. At all. I had something against it. Leanne could probably tell you, like, in the masterminds, when we used to have our meetings, I would be like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Like, I'm just not doing it. I would take it from a wholesaler and we would flip it or rent it or whatever. I didn't want to be that part. And man, how has a few months changed my life, you know? And I will never stop wholesaling, regardless of where we end.
Mm-hmm.
I will never stop the business of wholesaling. I may not be doing it physically, but it's the most important part of this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Talking, like, it's where you could get the best deal, in my perspective. Talking to the seller and just being one-on-one with a motivated seller, there's no better way than that you could get a deal. And so even if you're the second person as a wholesaler or as somebody that wholesales, you sell it to an investor who then takes it and flips it or do whatever. But you're the first point of contact with this person and you can negotiate the best deal. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I feel a special connection to you. Like you are such and such and such. Like, I wouldn't be able to get that from somebody else. It's
Mm-hmm.
just building that rapport and just that connection of talking to people and just getting properties. Like, we had one of our clients. She said, "Young man, you know, like we got it on the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then I called one of the buyers, and the buyer was like, oh, we could totally pay $150 for it, let's say." And I'm like, great, we're making a pretty big spread, right?
Yeah.
Then he went to see the property and he came back and was like, oh, I could only pay 125 or 130 for it. And when we had it for like 125, so now it came down to $5,000. And I was like, damn. Then I went back to the seller and I was like, hey, listen,
Mm-hmm.
my person went to the property and they seen it for this. And I really hate, I was me. I just went back and I was talking to her and she said, young man, listen, what's your number? Because you could tell me any number, and because of who you are and me connecting to you, I'll give it to you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What's your number? And I was almost like, you know, and so that ended up being our biggest profit spread since. And she was like, let me tell you something. I would hire you to work in my business any day, just because of the way you approached me and you spoke to me, and you will never get that being anywhere else in this process, you know? And so now I see the significance and the value and you know, just being able to help people one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
We really love that, you know? And so the mindset, I think that was your original question. I feel like it's deciding that, it's committing to it and then planning before. You know, I've heard that there are two ways that people make a decision. And some people, they decide, then they plan, and then they commit. And what I do, and this is the second way, is I decide, I commit, and then I plan. And
Mm-hmm.
that allows me to commit, and I don't care what we gotta go through or do to get to it, we're gonna figure it out, so then we could plan after. And you know, that helps me to keep my eyes on the prize and plan. Like, if we're trying to get bigger deals, then we need to be in a certain area, you know, like we need to do things differently. And so committing to it allows me to think of what needs to happen for us to achieve what we committed to. And so every Wednesday I go on this, I call it a will run. I'm not an athlete by any means necessary, but I call it a will run every Wednesday where I go run 2 miles and or just under 2 miles. And I run out to a park, and then on the way home, I pass my street to go around to come back home. And I gotta go up a hill, come down a hill to come back to my house. And every single Wednesday, I pass the street to go home, and it's like, you could just go home. It doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna know. It's just you. Like, just go home. And I'm already tired. And at that point in time is when if I don't have strong will, I'll go home. But because I feel like there's just so much, my wife and family is counting on me. You know, we're helping so many people and all of that. I take the long way out. I go run up that hill where I feel like I'm moving in slow motion, and then, you know, like it wears me out. And every time I do that, I feel like I have the energy, the strength to continue going, even when things are hard. So that's kind of where I get my motivation. And of course, God is number one, let me tell you, number absolutely one. And I pull from that to, for Will, for me.
Jas, does that structure work for you? Committing, clarity first before the planning, Miss Integrator?
No.
I ask that because I'm an integrator also, and Jacob's more the visionary and entrepreneur, and sometimes it drives me insane. I do trust him that he knows where the company is going, but sometimes, sometimes I had to scream inside.
Yeah, I'm more. I gotta think to see how it works. Plan it out, make sure that's something we can do and commit to. When you see what it entails, realistically, can we do that? Are we in a place where we can commit to that? And so I'm more of, I would say, that person. I'm not just gonna jump off the bridge generally. So yeah, we're very different in that way, and finding that balance of, you know, I say that because, okay, so on the team, I would say him and another person, they're like the Speedy Gonzalez. They just like, go, what you got? Yes, let's go. And I'm like, compared to them, but I feel like there's a place, because there's times when you need to move fast. And there's times when someone moving slower actually gives you the opportunity to see something you might have missed. And so I think that there's a value in having both personalities, because if we were both Speedy Gonzalez, we might jump off the cliff and die. You know what I'm saying? And it's very dramatic, but if you have that person who's kind of tailing behind, who might see something that you didn't see because you were moving so fast, it could also save you. So I would say that's kind of how our personalities so far complement. I mean, we're still very new. We're new in our marriage, we're new in the business. And so 10 years from now, we might have totally different perspectives. But I would say where we are right now, these are the things I've learned and have noticed, witnessed, kind of picked up on that seem to work and make sense, and figuring out as we go and getting clarity as we go.
Do you guys have a business plan? Or since now that we're on the topic of looking where the family business is going in the future, a business plan, or are you guys going to stick with single family homes?
I would say if we go according to my husband, we will do everything.
Where are we going with this?
Everything will be automated, because I feel like he's one of those type of people that I guess he just never gets too comfortable. And so that can be kind of stressful, because it's always like, you always have something, you know, like, can we just do this? It's working, like, it's not broke, don't fix it. But so I would say that we might try everything. Like, just being honest, based on how he's built, even if we only do it one time, I feel like I don't see us being pigeonholed into one thing. But also another thing we have talked about as for our family unit is that real estate is just a vehicle to do what we really want to do. So will we be as involved in real estate or like have it be like the core of who we are? I can't say that because we do believe our purpose is higher, and not that it's like better. It's just, you know, we're very involved in like marriage ministry and like helping other married couples and being surrounded by other married couples. So I think we also have other interests and desires. And so this real estate is really a vehicle to fund the lifestyle, so that, because some of the things we want to do don't make a lot of money. So if we have this in place, we would feel a certain level of freedom to be able to do those things that might even be free at times, because we're not trying to stress out about how we're going to pay our mortgage or how we're going to pay for this or pay for that. So we'd have a little bit more freedom to explore and try things that might not be as lucrative per se, but are in alignment with who we are as individuals, and I guess the legacy we kind of want to leave, and just explore those type of things, I guess, is the best I can explain that.
I think that's a wonderful and very appropriate reminder for everybody as we're exploring entrepreneurship and investing in our own businesses. I coach several people on the side also, and I always start off that you have to think about your life. Where do you want to see yourself? How do you envision your life being with your family, with your loved ones? And then think backwards. And for some people, only some people, real estate investing is their full-time career. For many of us, real estate investing is just the platform in order for us to achieve the lifestyle that we ultimately want and envision for ourselves, whether that be, you know, traveling or philanthropy or having children or something. But real estate investing gives us a launching pad in order to get to our ultimate goal. But there's only a handful of people where real estate investing, that is the goal, you know. And I think that is a great perspective and reminder for many of us when we're developing our businesses and our careers. It's not necessarily the end all be all. There's so much to explore and there's so many opportunities. So where are you guys investing? And how can we get it? Like, where do you guys see the opportunity? I'm based in California. California is a totally different beast altogether.
Now we're here in Georgia. We're investing like north and south of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what we're doing. Where we're doing it. You know, to your question before, I don't think I really want to flip. That's more of something my wife want to do, simply because, you know, she want to do it once.
Yeah.
Now that we're wholesaling, it's like, well, why would we spend 5 months, 3 months flipping a property when we could make the same money in a month, a few weeks, without the risk, without putting money into it, without managing a crew, without doing all of that? Like, one deal can make 30,000. Like, why would we do that? You know? And it's like, so for me, I'm not interested in flipping anymore, simply because this is just like, well, why, you know? And it's not that we don't put in work up front, because, you know, we're on the dialer, calling people every day on Mojo Dialer, you know, and going through people's pain and all of that. We do a different set of work, but there's no risk to it. I don't have to manage a whole bunch of stuff. Make sure, like, you know, Home Depot is selling things at this price, and I don't have to do that, you know? And so I prefer my risk tolerance. And before, I would have totally been cool with flipping. I wanted to flip. That's what I was saying before. Like I wanted us to buy property, flip, burr, you know, like that was my thing.
Yes, burr.
But now it's like, man, I could go straight from what we're doing now to buy and holds, and subject twos. Getting properties subject to, I think, is where it's going to be at for us, simply because it, like, you don't need your own name and credit to own property. You still need money, or you should have money to have reserves and stuff. If the property needs a little bit of work, sure. But yeah, I think subject to is where it's going to be for us. And actually, I'm going to publicly say my my dream and desire for my team, and I'm going to hold myself to it, is that everyone on my team is going to have their own property subject to in a year.
You just did you did an Eva just now.
Oh, I did. I just told everybody. Yeah, totally. She totally does that.
Yeah.
But that's the desire. That's the goal. Everyone on the team. Again, watch what I did. I committed to it first. I have no idea exactly how to do it. But guess what? Now I got to figure it out because I already committed to it. And so that's how that's what I do. And so now, but because we should just all we should be able to say this is how we change lives. And if we change the people's lives around us before we try to help other people, then I feel like it's living it. I like to live things before I talk about things. I'm not on social media. And I know that's a whole different topic and you should tell everybody about what you do. Sure. But I just, this is my journey and this is where I'm at. I want us to be able to achieve these things first. And before, it's just me, it's my process.
Now, high performance, this is where we met. If you guys don't know what high performance is, every morning we have to set up our days for success. We have to set up our days to win. Pam, very familiar with it. Steph, which was here, she's very, very familiar with it. And you mentioned the session that we had about clarity really catapulted you in terms of productivity and efficiency. Now, when I'm setting myself up for my day in investing, I mean, I was like 2 hours this morning just going through leads, had to do a couple calls, and I was looking at spreadsheets and stuff like that. And it can be exhausting. So here's one of the things about being a real estate investor. You do have to put in the time every single day, making calls, and you have to follow up. And sometimes it can get mundane. So I want to ask you guys, how do you set your days up for success? Like that's a lot to do for a family business. What do you do?
Yeah.
And exhale.
Well, yours you.
I have a strict routine. I wake up at like 4, sometimes earlier. That's when I have my devotional time. That's my time with God.
Mm-hmm.
Then I move on to studying or reading or some form of information knowledge where I'm learning something. I try to learn something every day. Then I move on to working out. Work out, then, come back. We have I write down what I want to achieve for the day or try to do it the night before. But if at that point, if it's not done, I will write down everything that that I want to achieve in that day. Then we meet before our team meeting and kind of discuss what we're trying to achieve today. That's when I talk about my crazy goals and visions and things like that. And then we execute. And cold calling. I had to go to look at a property before this call. Whatever the day entails, I will do that midday at 1:00. Well, at 9:55, I have my 4 words that I tell myself every day. And that's what we learned from high performance as well, because that's it kind of puts you in the mood to order yourself to be who you want to be for that day. And so I kind of go through my declarations, if you want to call it that, for the day. At 1:00, my alarm goes off again, and that's my reset time. That's when I need to go meditate for at least 4 to 5 minutes to reset and refuel and come back. That may not happen exactly at 1, but between 1 and 2, that's when I do that. Then I eat. I try to eat without my phone. I try to keep that time for myself. And once I'm finished eating, and within all of this, I time block. I don't answer texts unless it's from my mom or my wife. Well, my family or from my wife. Before I go on my meditation, and once I'm done after eating, I go back on time blocking until 5:00. Anything other than a cash buyer or anybody that's important to what I'm doing and not feeding into what other people want and the reason why they text me, I block that out. And so in the evening, that's our intentional time where I try to intentionally spend time with my wife, just so that we don't get too caught up in our day-to-day life and what we do. And we work from home. So it's like, I'm very categorized, or I've made myself that way where, you know, I iron my shirt and everything before I go into the office. You know, I make sure I put on my chain or my ring and all these things. Like I put on cologne even though I'm home, and I'm very, because this makes me feel like it's time to show up for the team. That's now I'm going and now it's work. And so I normally have on my hat backwards and it's time for the team. Like that makes me feel like me, you know, and I show up, and like those are the things that makes me up and ready. I take my hat off and I'm done at 5. I could wusa and it's time for my wife. So that's my typical day.
Is yours similar?
Nothing.
Because I remember you're not one to work out in the morning. You still working out though?
Oh God, yeah. Oh well, not in the past week, but yeah, my day looks nothing like that at all. Now it used to have much similar structure when we were in New York, but since being in Atlanta, I've pretty much, I didn't know I was taking this role on, but it's what I got. But I am pretty much my mom's primary caretaker, and so I don't really have that same, let's use the word luxury, to create
let's say flexibility.
Okay. To create such a day for myself, because there are days where I'm supposed to be off, but they want my mom to come into the doctor. And those visits are usually anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. And so for me, I end up taking a lot of our team calls in the car because the hospital kicks us out. The caretakers, they're like, no, you have to wait in this area. So I just prefer to be in the car. And so oftentimes my work gets done in the car, unless my mom happens to be off. So then I can be home. So I would say, I guess what helps set me up for success is try not to stress out too much. I might journal in the morning. I will say Eva told me to come up with a 15-minute non-negotiable routine last week. So we'll see how that works. I do find writing out the day, what I want to accomplish that day, or like my to-do list, does help me set up for success. And I did take on a 20-day challenge. Well, you guys know about my TV challenge, which I did really.
How's that going?
It's good. Technically, it's over, and we've only watched TV once. And so my plan was that I would only watch it on the weekends, because I know if I start incorporating it during the week, it's gonna go back to how it was before. So that's kind of like, I guess my next challenge is only on the weekend TV. But I took up 20 days of meditation. Jay Shetty put that out when he released the book, and so I think I did 18 because he kept coming on late. And so it was not working for me. And then I also learned that, because his was every day at 12:30. 12:30 is not a good time for me because we get to the hospital about 9:15. Our team meeting's usually at 10.
Yeah.
And so I'm really just kind of getting started. And so I guess one thing I could say, aside from the meditation, because I have been doing it, that has been helpful to kind of quiet me down. It's hard when I first start because my mind is thinking 20 million things. So that journaling, I have made a goal to work out twice a week. Just last week was my birthday. That's why last week didn't
Happy birthday.
And then what else? Oh, to be honest, I think what sets me up for success too is going to the mall. I know that might sound really crazy, but it just helps me to detach. I guess a way, that's kind of my meditation. I don't need to shop. I just need to go look. And sometimes I do that after I leave the hospital because seeing your family member, and especially like for me, I'm super close. It's kind of emotional. Some days are easier than others, but to see the drastic difference in like her body and what she looked like before. So I think for me, part of it is how do I be successful is try to be strong and continue to like grow in my faith. Because if I have a breakdown in front of her, that doesn't help her. And so I feel like I'm balancing like that and real estate. The emotional, I guess not being an emotional wreck. And some days I'm very successful, and other days I'm a hot mess. And so I guess I give myself permission to try again the next day. And I guess that's what I would say kind of helps set me up to be better. And also accept that I can't have a routine. I think that's also part of it, of my success. Is I can't have that same kind of structure because my life is more, what do you call it? Where you're like on call. Yeah.
Carlos wanted to ask, do you sleep? When do you sleep?
Oh yeah, he sleeps.
Oh, I sleep. I go to sleep early. If I'm up past 10, I'm disappointed. Early.
like
I get tired by 10 also.
Like,
So I think,
yeah.
I don't know how old you guys. I'm approaching 40. I'm like, I get tired by 9. So like, I'm tired now. So you're talking to an entire group of all different investors and entrepreneurs, all at different levels, on all at different skill sets, and at different points in their business. Any words of wisdom that you've learned along the way that you can bequeath onto the entire group? There's about 120 of us.
Well, I will say one thing that did work for me is once you get like your first like deal, it does change something in you, even if it's not a lot, even if it's like $500 or $1,000. So it's almost like if you could just keep pushing to get your first deal, because once you get that, it's almost like it gives you the gas to be like, oh, I can do this, you know. And so I would say, in respect to like not giving up, I would definitely say use that as words of wisdom of like you will feel different once that first deal closes.
Let me add to a perspective of what she just said. To everyone that's listening that has a spouse that like, but how do you get her to be in it or whatever? That's a question that I hear all the time. And now I'm able to answer it honestly. We used to fight. I'm gonna say fight. She likes to use heated fellowship. I'm gonna say fight, where I would wanna drag her in and like, why are you not doing this? And why are you not looking at the classes and all this type of stuff, right? And I didn't understand that I needed patience and I needed to be able to walk her through to see the process. She's an integrator. She's not a commit first person. I didn't understand that until reading that book a few months ago. And it was just like, I need to show her the process, walk her through the process first. Once she sees that it's real, it was just like, oh my God. And so now we're here and we could talk. Leanne could tell you, she never seen my wife on a mastermind call. She wouldn't be there, you know, like.
Well, I would be in the background.
You know, like she would be in the background, but this, like, typically she wouldn't be here because this was your thing, you know, and although it was a family thing until now where she's seen the process, been a part of it, and now is able to understand it. Man, the lights, you know, like in cartoon, you just see a light bulb. Like literally, I remember the moment when we were sitting down and she's like, we could do this, you know, and it just went off. And I was like, man, that's the answer right there. We had to go through the process. And I wasn't patient enough. I didn't know that I needed patience in that moment to kind of go through it and show it to her and just expose her to it, not forcing her in it. And so that would be my advice for couples who are trying to do this together.
And also boundaries. I am the queen of boundaries. I can tell you, we've had our growing things, but I'm like, I don't want to intrude on our team member space. I would say before 8:30, we found a compromise, but like I would prefer 8:30.
I'm up since 4. What do you mean?
Go.
It doesn't,
Get
like, we have that, but also like late at night. We don't need to be texting people about work, like on the weekends. I mean, unless it's an emergency kind of thing, I'm all about boundaries, like healthy work-life boundaries. We cannot talk about real estate all the time, nor, and I also think even if somebody is willing, doesn't mean we should ask them to. Even if, you know what I mean? Like, even if you know they might say yes, I think boundaries are super important because it shows that you also respect, like, that they have a family, they have a life that, well, yeah, they would eat, sleep, and breathe real estate too, but is that necessarily the healthiest thing for people to do? You can burn out. You could go really strong really fast and then drop, you know? And so for me, having time set aside where, nope, you know, like, sorry. And I believe it's hard, especially for his personality.
I'm still growing. I'm not there yet.
It's just super important to me. Like there's certain things that I just feel like we have to, like, I'll be honest, like if I hear a podcast or something about real estate at like 7 p.m., he gets a look. I'm like, I'm off. I don't want to hear about any of this. Like, and I had a realization this morning, well, yesterday, was that if he plays it in the morning, it's fine because almost like work has already started. But at a certain time, I would say creating boundaries for yourself. And technically, he has created boundaries and even time blocking. And I just think they're very healthy. And even if you know you could keep going on, how long can that last? Even if you don't have to consider other people and you're just considering yourself. What can make you the most successful? You have to create boundaries for yourself too. And when you're married, even more so, because it's like you have to consider the other person's needs and wants and all those type of things. So I would say boundaries is probably my biggest piece of advice. Healthy boundaries.
You want to learn how to make money, girl.
You can make boundaries.
No, I support everything she's saying. It's hard for me because I don't turn off. I go all day, all the time. And so, you know, my advice, I think I've said it, I don't know how to say it in another way, is to commit, then plan. Commit to it. Commit to what you want to do. Commit to the person you want to be. Commit to the lifestyle you want to achieve. And then figure out how to get there. But you've already set yourself up, set your mind up that, like, I have to achieve this. And now, you know, I believe that's the only difference between people who has achieved it and people who don't. You know, like, I don't think that a millionaire, billionaire is any necessarily smarter than us, you know, and everyone that's listening to this. You know, I think they've just, they were either privileged with the knowledge of how to do it, or, you know, they have set themselves up to be able to achieve it. And that would be my thing. Like, you know, set yourself up to be able to achieve what you want to do, and figure it out. You know, like just everything is figure outable. That's you know, like, everything is figure outable.
I would say one thing that I think did help, and it helped the team, was he figured out how much we wanted to make per year, and then he broke it down by month. So let's say hypothetically we said we want to make 5,000 a month. So how many deals do we have to close to get 5,000? Or how much do we want to make per deal? Like, and I think breaking it down into that way, I think made it more digestible. Because it was almost like if you get one deal that's 5,000, technically you've met your goal. So anything above that is just extra. And so I think setting those type of goals, especially like in real estate, of how much do you want to make per money? per month. And I think that also is one of our goals too, when you were asking about like our business plan, is we wanted to have 10,000 in passive income every month. So that's one of our goals.
What she just explained is what I was showing you guys, and I'm gonna wrap myself out now. But she and the team may not be able to see what I see all the way down. So I had to, again, break it down into things that she could understand, where it's showing the process, right? So now they've seen the process. So now this crazy goal of $400,000, it might seem crazy, but when I break it down per deal, it's like, oh, that we could totally do that. That's super easy, you know? And it was just a matter of understanding different personalities and how everyone thinks. And that's a big thing too. Understand people's personalities. Like the personality types, that's major and huge. And so once I started to understand these different personalities and the type of personality that my wife has, it was just a matter of reverse engineering from I could see, yes, let's make $1 million. And she's like, well, how would we do that? Like her brain goes crazy if I just said that. But if I show her a week by week plan or a daily plan to get it, she totally understands it that way. And so now I got to push beyond myself of being comfortable with a big dream and making it digestible for the rest of the team, and everyone kind of moves on from there.
So if anyone in Investor Party wanted to get in touch with you, your business plan, your vision, all the inspiration, words of wisdom, how can they get in touch with you guys?
Yikes. It's a yikes because we're not on social media. I could tell you my social media is different. Make a Kes, but it's I haven't posted in almost 2 years, and that's because I time blocked from things that could distract me. You know what I mean? And so it was, and I haven't reverted back to. I don't think that I'm there yet, where I could allow that energy and everyone else's opinion to come into what I do. All I look at is I might look at our high performance. I would look at different real estate. Anything real estate, I go on the pages. Other than that, I don't look at timelines and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it would literally be email. The email would be KJDN or KJ at buypropertiesgeorgia.com. KJ@buypropertiesgeorgia.com.
And we'll make sure that contact information is available, because again, thank you guys so much for your time, for all the information you shared with us. Again, we're all at different stages of our businesses and our learning process and our learning curves. Any words of wisdom from your end, I consider you guys successful. I consider you guys a power couple, and like, yeah, you guys are role models for us. So thank you for your time and your generosity. This is going to be, obviously it's recorded, it's going to be viewed plenty of times over, and we have your contact information. Again, anyone in Investor Party, if you have any questions, do reach out. And yeah, again, thank you guys, everyone, for your time. Thanks, Jas.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
All right. Have a great week, everyone.
You too.
See you next time.